Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Wrestling Throwdown for the week of December 19th, 2020. I'm Caleb Black. This is Luke the Big Dog Williams. That's our in-studio producer, the mighty Max Fury. And it is time to talk about wrestling. Luke, how you doing this Saturday?
Like a roller coaster, bro. Like a roller coaster.
Up and down a little bit?
Well, up and down. It's fun at first, and then you regret it, and then afterwards you're thankful it's over.
And then you vomit. Max, how about you this Saturday? How we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Want to talk some wrestling. Not sure how we're going to do that because we didn't see very much of it.
None of it happens.
But let's get into that.
So before we get into the news in this segment, we're going to be reminding you guys of this quite a bit as we go on. This is our last live put-together broadcast for the year of 2020. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to have some videos dropping. Obviously, for you guys, some specials we're going to be doing. We are not reconvening until January 9th, so we get a nice little 2-week holiday break. Then we get back into the new year, pro wrestling, everything that's going on. We're going to keep you all abreast via the Facebook, via the Twitter. We're not completely zoning out on you. We're just not going to be putting out videos.
No, we're going to have new content every day.
Yep.
During the 2-week stretch that we're not live.
They're all getting canned.
Now, mind you, some things might happen in the world of professional wrestling. If anything huge takes place, check the Facebook, check the Twitters.
At Pro Wrestling Throwdown, at Pro Wrestling TD.
Correct. Who knows, if it's something big enough, we might
CM Punk on New Year's Eve.
You might see us in our jammies as we decide.
I might be half drunk, but if something happens on New Year's Eve, I promise you I'll let you know about it.
But yes, new video content, at least a video a day.
At least one. For the next 2 weeks. That being said, let's get into the news. It's time for What's News in Wrestling, and we got a couple of big ones. We'll start with We'll start with the smaller ones. We'll work our way up to the big one because I feel like that's going to take some time. Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero have re-signed their contracts with AEW, which means Lucha Brothers are going to be sticking around in All Elite Wrestling on TNT at AEW on TNT
for at least a year.
For at least a year, which I'm all about. I love the Lucha Brothers. You can ask him. Ever since the Lucha Underground days, I've always been a big Pentagon fan. Very excited to see what they're going to do with them. I know Rey Fenix is coming into the number one contenders position in 3 weeks against Kenny Omega.
Well, and with Penta, I'm just going to call him Pentagon Jr., even though that's not what he goes by now. Even with the injury, it's good that they were able to sign him down now.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, he's been on TV, but he's not how we say in the business, ready to go. Yeah. But, I mean, a signing like that at this time of the year with everything that's going on in the world of professional wrestling, those two guys you want on your roster.
I completely agree. I think they're always, I mean, they're definitely on my top 5 current tag teams.
Oh, for sure.
That I've mentioned probably here in a video.
Easily on that list.
Let's talk a little bit about some wrestling outside of the universe of AEW. The WWE has trademarked the Collective. Now, for those of you who may be familiar...
Well, they filed
the trademark for the Collective.
Yes.
Those of you who may be familiar with the independent wrestling scene, you know that JCW puts together an event every year called the Collective, including other independent wrestling companies over several days.
Yeah, GCW, Black Label Pro, AIW, Freelance.
It's basically a huge event where a number of independent wrestling companies come together to showcase the best of their talent. They've called it the Collective since it happened.
For a while.
And the WWE attempting to steal the name and trademark it is such a dirty, dodgy, scummy Vince McMahon type move.
Well, it is, and then again, it isn't. I'm surprised that these people haven't filed for that already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you advertise that as your wrestling weekend events.
Right.
So you would think somebody would have had the
wherewithal to
at least try.
And who's to say they didn't? Maybe Vince happened to just file for it as it was coming up for expiration or whatever.
Possibly.
But the fact of the matter is, Vince knows that's an independent property name. He absolutely knows that. There's no way his bubble is so small that he doesn't know that.
No, for sure.
And for him to do that again, dirty, dodgy, Vince McMahon type move against, let's be fair, the independent scene, while organic to wrestling fans and is territorial almost in the sense that it's a regional kind of thing, they're not Vince McMahon's direct competition.
No, not at all. And that's not who he needs to be concerned with.
He needs to be worried about AEW.
He needs to be concerned with
about Impact.
Other Collective.
He needs to be worried about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Leave the guys at GCW who are busting their asses, by the way, the fuck alone.
Now, to play devil's advocate, though, It is kind of a smart move.
I mean, it's a smart move, but it's a shitty move. And of course,
not. I didn't say
who
that.
would be surprised, billionaire Ted? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's not exactly the. It's not the right way to do it,
Right.
but it's not the wrong move.
Right. No, and I agree with that. Like if you're gonna play hardball,
he's game. Yeah.
Let's talk about some hardball involving Vince McMahon. The biggest news that we have for you: USA Network reportedly furious over the low ratings from the WWE. Contacts the WWE and says they want edgier, more adult content, not sexy content, mind you.
Darker,
violent content, almost like hard-hitting, violent professional wrestling by adults, where they don't insult your intelligence, where wrestlers would watch.
You know, I was watching this program the other day.
What's the program called?
It escapes me. The name escapes me. But I was watching it on YouTube.
It's got those two really handsome guys,
yeah, it has
right?
these two guys and a voice that talks from above.
Yeah.
And
I'm familiar with that.
They've been talking about this for quite a while now.
You know what? Those guys? Fucking geniuses.
You know what's actually funny about that?
Tell me.
And the fact that these people were not only talking about that, but they did these two videos. One about a DDT, and one about a super kick.
Oh, those are great moves. You know what they used to be?
Finishing moves. Yeah. I wonder who those two guys are.
Oh, are you talking about when Jim Ross a couple of weeks ago mentioned on his podcast about how the DDT and the super kick used to be protected finishers and still should be?
There's really only one.
I'm sorry, a week ago?
You're talking about the ones that came out like a week before Jim Ross said all that, though, right?
Yeah, those guys. They put out that video the week before Jim Ross said that.
Yeah, there's one thing that I can say about that.
What's that?
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad that the hours of tireless video making that these two embodied voice,
incredibly handsome.
Yeah, the voice is just
man,
I touch it.
The dude with the voice sounds like he's got a big dick.
It rubs against my leg all the time. It scares mine away. But anyway, it's funny to me that we put in all this time and effort onto these videos, and it just seems like people are like, "Hey, did you see this thing that just happened to pop up about this?" And then be like, "Oh yeah, that's good." And then they take that idea and they steamroll with it. This ain't the first time, as you know. AEW crossover.
Called it.
Okay.
Edge returning to the Royal Rumble.
Called it. I mean,
correct.
I'm telling you, dude.
We might not get a ton of views, but apparently someone's watching, and you can send the royalty checks to 115. No,
you can send it through email
at prowrestlingthrowdown@gmail.com.
Or you can get a hold of us on Facebook.
Signed to the order of pay me my money.
Send an order to the fat guy with glasses and the other one with a beard. We'll sign them checks.
So let's get back to USA Network. Interestingly enough, now speaking of other podcasts, Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca had this exact same conversation on Busted Open this previous week before this report from USA came out, that they were interested in seeing what the ratings were going to say. And actually, it was kind of funny. Bully Ray said the USA Network probably won't be the one to say anything, but it'll probably be Fox to say, hey, you guys aren't doing enough adult viewership content that we wanted to pay for. And
they were half right.
USA Network finally, after how many years they've been with the WWE, has said, hey, be better at your job.
Well, I was watching Raw this week, as I tend to do, and I wasn't zoning out. And they did the whole fire angle with the Fiend and Orton. Now, with that angle, I was sitting there and I was watching. I was like, man, that's kind of dark. Like it almost didn't feel like it set right for Monday Night Raw.
In the WWE universe, considering they opened the show with that stupid Christmas story angle between the Miz, Morrison, AJ, and Sheamus.
But if you think about it, I think that's like the first real try at
I think
changing of the guard.
Alexa Bliss, the Fiend, sort of pseudo-dark implications of the Fiend's effects on Alexa Bliss were also among that, like, okay, this feels more like it's tailored for me to watch it, even though, again, it's in this universe of suspended disbelief.
Right.
It's eerie, and everybody felt the exact same way when the Fiend and Alexa Bliss were in the ring, their second segment. I'm not going to talk about the illusion that it created, but everybody knows exactly what it felt like.
Well, and not just that, but we've been talking for the last couple of weeks that was the best segment on Raw
in a long time.
In a couple months. And that's why.
Yeah.
Because it was dark, it was edgy, it was something that made you think. It was something that we yearn for.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling fans, in a nutshell, yearn for that Attitude Era return.
And I don't want to turn on Raw and feel like I'm watching
a Disney show.
A children's Christmas edition.
It feels like a Nickelodeon show that would come on after school.
Yeah.
It's iCarly with dude men in tights.
Hazy.
I love iCarly. First of all.
That was disrespectful to men in tights.
No, but here's my other part. You've got guys, like we talked about before, I was really excited about the Sheamus McIntyre angle. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's going to create physical matches.
Yes.
And you've seen two recently. Matt Riddle and Sheamus, what was 2 weeks ago? Had a vicious physical match.
To be honest, we don't care a lot for the whole Retribution angle, but Mace and Ricochet was actually really decent.
I'm sorry, MVP, Shelton Benjamin.
The Hurt Business.
The Hurt Business. All of their matches, physical. Not necessarily violent, but physical and hard-hitting. I'm not asking the WWE to remove all of its entertainment stuff. I know we're too far gone past that. But I'm saying if we're going to do the puppet show, and if we're going to do the music bits,
get better puppets,
and if we're going to do the storytelling, can we not use wrestling matches as filler? Can we not use the entertainment as filler and open the show with a fucking Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, 15-minute, holy shit, beat the piss out of each other match?
Well, and here's the deal. You got 3 hours of television on Monday Night Raw. I expect to at least see 7 matches.
Yeah.
7 matches, that's 2 an hour plus your main event.
Yeah.
That's how that should be. And you don't even get that in 3 hours.
Well, and the other part, too, is wrestling, everybody knows, TV-wise, you get the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes, to rope someone into watching a television show. When I sit down and I turn on my TV, like I did with Monday Night Raw, no lie, turned it on, started that segment, turned it off, and had to finish Raw the next day. And I only watch Raw because we do these videos. I only have my network subscription because we do these videos.
Well, I have it because I'm a junkie.
I like watching old matches. I keep tabs on the current product because we have to do this. Because
if
this
we
makes
could
us
get
happy.
away with doing our entire show on stuff that had taken place
everywhere else,
yesteryear or just yesterday,
just yesterday.
Believe me, we could do that, but we don't. We do this as a service to you.
Exactly. So
we watch it, so you don't have to. Up high.
Hopefully,
Randy Orton up high
with the USA Network finally stepping in and saying we want edgier content. Finally stepping in and saying we want a show for adults. Not to mention with the pressure the WWE's got to be feeling from the AEW Impact crossovers and all of those plans happening with all of those other companies. This might be the time.
Also, I mean, it's not like the fans haven't been asking for this for the last 2 years.
It's not like 2 years ago they came out on TV and said, we're going to start listening to the fans. Okay. Feel free to start.
Yeah, we've been waiting.
And by the way, someone's watching. Listen to us. I'll tell you exactly what wrestling fans want.
Let me book the show.
One time. Let me book Monday Night Raw. If I don't draw 1 million in ratings in the first 20 fucking minutes of my booking Monday Night Raw, I will clean Vince McMahon's personal toilet for free for the rest of my life.
You couldn't, and the reason being why you couldn't draw that many people is because the people who watch Monday Night Raw nowadays don't have their mind frame isn't set for professional wrestling. It's set. They're used to having to watch 27 interviews
which
that
now
go nowhere.
Is even more entertainment than sports.
Jokes from a UFC fighter about a woman with boobs on her back because that'll sell tickets.
You have to have a good show just to get them to watch the next show.
Exactly.
Well, guys, that's all we got for the news. Let us know what you think about the USA Network finally stepping up and saying something. Let us know what you think about the WWE trademarking the collective. You can do that by finding us on Facebook at facebook.com/ProWrestlingThrowdown. Throwdown. Follow us on Twitter at ProWrestlingTD. Send us an email at ProWrestlingThrowdown@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment down below after you like and subscribe. And don't forget, January 9th, we'll be returning to Twitch at twitch.com/ProWrestlingThrowdown. Stay tuned. We got a ton of content coming your way right after this brief message from our sponsors.
Woo!
We don't have sponsors.
Mickey Rooney's Crazy Pill.
I'll take a shit in the chimney.